Now, there is a relationship between the law of one and money. Money is basically a spiritual idea, even though we may call it by other terms. For our purposes, money is basically a spiritual idea. And it should be used to serve God at all times. That's really the purpose of money. We're put here to serve God, so why should we separate it from money? Just as spirit and matter are one, we can say that spirit and money are one and the same thing. The creative mind, the law, the soul, as we sometimes call it, and money are really all one and the same thing. And they're all accessed actually in sort of the same way. If we want to get access to the deeper mind, to the soul, to the creative mind, to the law, how do we access it? Usually it's through our intuition. So there's many ways to use our intuition. We need to think about what we're doing and let ideas come to us and then act on them. We don't just have thoughts and forget about any messages from God or what's coming from within. So this idea of observing the inner world is the best way to really to attract money to yourself. And there's many ways to observe it. It doesn't have to be totally formal envisioning. It can just be listening to the beat of your own inner drummer in some way. Another tip on the relationship between the law of one and money is that we should know at all times, as much as possible, know that we always have money, even though it may not be in our pocket. We always have it. Money is all around us. Money is basically energy. Money is God's help and God's energy. And we always have God's help available to us at all times. It's all we have to do is call upon it. Money is there. It's just that sometimes we get into this consciousness where we think we just don't have it. And if we think that way, guess what? We ain't going to have it. Now, there are problems, clearly, when we don't have money. And so we have to reverse that situation. So there are problems caused by not having enough money. And one of the guys who was in Science Mind early, before I even got into it formally, had a statement. And I didn't understand what it meant at the time. And I'll mention this statement because you've probably all heard it. He says, the lack of money is the root of all evil. I used to hear in the Baptist church that money is the root of all evil. And this guy comes along, Science Mind preacher, and says, no, the lack of money is the root of all evil. How can he say that? What does that mean? It makes perfect sense, and I'll explain why in a second. The Mormons have something very similar to what Reverend Ike says, but they say it in a different way. I was taking a seminar called Wealth Building in Churches a few years back, put on by our denomination. And the guy who was talking about wealth building says, of all the denominations in the country, the Mormons give the most money. They're close to 10%. No one else comes even close to that. Most churches are around 1, 2, 3%, but the Mormons consistently are up around 10%. And what they say, and I was kind of shocked to hear him say it, but this is what he said. It's the same thing Reverend Ike said, different language. They say that the amount of money you have is a measure of your relationship to spiritual principles. If you don't have much money, you don't have much spirit. I said, well, darn, but that's literally what they say. And that feeds into what Reverend Ike says. Basically what happens is if we focus continuously in our mind that we don't have enough, and we focus on lack, guess what? There's going to be continued lack, more and more and more. As we separate spirit from money, and many people do that, well, those people are just into money, I'm into God. So matter and money are one and the same thing, it's just that they appear to be different. So the conditions, put it this way, if we separate money and matter, or we separate spirit and matter, we're contradicting what God wants. Why? Because God wants us to be abundant. God wants us to have as much money as basically we can have. But when we start separating it and saying, well, money is over here and God is over here, that's like saying God and matter are two different things, and then we think things begin to fall apart. So when we ignore the principles, when we ignore the law, or we just don't study it much, or we have a separation in our mind, then what happens is our life is relegated to living by the law of averages, and we can't. It's hard to live a more abundant life. Why? Because we're not following spiritual principles. Beginning section of the Trinity. It's the active section. It's the beginning section, and that's where our beliefs about money come in, our thoughts about money come in, our ideas about money come in, and any intentions we have about money are planted into the subconscious mind. Hopefully those are positive, expansive abundance, but that's where it begins. It's what we think comes from what we believe, and what we speak comes from what we think, and so same with our intentions. Once we speak it and think it and put it out there, then it goes into the receptive mind, or that middle stage, and this is a period of time when we're waiting to be nurtured by the universe. We put out our ideas, we're waiting to see what comes back to us. And we're waiting for answers, we're waiting for fulfillment, we're basically trying to follow our plan, but we're basically kind of in a middle zone where it's up to God. We let go, we put out what we need to put out. And then eventually, maybe hopefully not too long, there's a completion stage, and that's where there's manifestation. The things that we ask for are finally coming through, not necessarily totally in the form that we could see, but responding to what our request was. And so we actually get something, cash or value, or something that we've been moving toward. Now I'm going to take this same concept and expand it in terms of the Enneagram. I'm going to say exactly the same thing, but I'm going to break it into a little bit more expansive language so we can get a little deeper insight on exactly the same thing. So this active stage, which is the beginning stage of money, not only is there beliefs and intentions, but the very first thing we have in this active stage is defining what we want, what we love, and having an initial thought about that. There's actually a second stage while we're still there in the conscious phase, and that's to keep our mind focused on it. So if I think about money, I got to keep thinking about it. I can't just think about it once and move on to something else. I got to keep my attention on it and define it a little bit deeper, and also think in terms of, do I love what I'm about to do? What's my relationship to this? And then we have more maximum awareness, maximum clarity, and then we actually take action. It happens so quickly that we don't think of breaking it into three parts. But those are sort of the three parts. Having our attention on it, keeping our attention on it, and then having such a clear definition that we can take action. Then there's the receptive stage, along, the middle stage. And that's where we basically let go and let God. It's like doing visioning. We close our eyes, we try to suspend our ego and say, what's coming up on my mental screen? And that's where we let the ego go, and we just kind of merge momentarily, or a little bit longer than momentarily, with the subconscious mind, or with the law, with the creative mind. We do this every night when we go to sleep. We don't intentionally give up our ego. Once we shut our eyes and go to sleep, our ego is gone, and God has its way with us. And so we let go and let God, and then at some point a little light bulb goes off. Maybe we see a picture in our mind's eye, or we get a hit on something. Oh, what about this? What about that? So there's an illumination, an understanding of something new that wasn't there before. Because of the vision, or because of going within, this new thing comes forward. And that new information is very powerful. But when we get this new information, we have to ask, what does this mean? How do I understand it? Because just because we see something doesn't mean we fully understand it. So that's where the skeptic comes in and kind of analyzes things to validate it and go over it again and again. And we've heard the expression, without vision, people perish. But that's true of individuals and the nation as well. So we can't just have an idea and not have any relationship between letting go and letting God. Then finally, with the completion stage, there's a level of, once we have been critical and we sort of understand the vision, there's a level of, oh, how can I use this? How can I put it in motion? How can I make it happen? How can I ground this new insight that I have? That's the enthusiasm part of the completion stage. Then we begin to really support our vision, support what new information came through, and we're determined to get results in a solid way. And then finally we say, I got it. I'm at peace. I'm happy. I have this new result. And that's great. Unfortunately, after that stage, you got to begin to think about a new beginning again, because it doesn't just end at that. The circle continues. Now let me conclude with that.